Hi, Capstone students. I told you you'd see my face again. So I know I'm in the corner. I don't know. I believe it's this corner. Might be this corner. I don't know based off of the way I'm looking and whatnot where it is. But yeah. Welcome to week 3. Like I said, I did the welcome video already. And I'm going to talk about reflective learning, but I'm also going to be talking about researching in criminal justice, general guidelines, finding experience, learning, licensing, all that stuff. So first and foremost, I want to get it right out of the way first. I'm in the wrong spot. Yes, I'm still here. Sorry. Blackboard was like, hey, what's going on? So real quick, if you've not already checked out week 3's folder, which, the intro video is in there, so hopefully you've seen it. But there's the self-reflection capstone doc. And so I talked about a self-reflective essay. This is the assignment sheet for that. So the self-reflective essay, I really want you to reflect on your growth as a student from when you first started up to this point in this journey. So I say when you first started with the program, but I know, at least for one of you, you didn't necessarily start in criminal justice. And realistically, the self-reflective essay should be looking at what led you to this point. And kind of what I want you to start with is when you decided to take college classes. So whether it was you took college classes 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago at a different school, or if it was a matter of 3 years ago, you went, you know what, I'm going to go to school. That's what I'm looking for as kind of your starting point. I'd like you to focus specifically on EC3, but obviously, depending on your circumstances, it might be a little bit longer. So these are the types of things that I want you to consider in developing this essay. And it's a short essay, so I'm going to emphasize that. But what were your goals when you first started the program? Why did you decide to pursue this? What your current career goals are. This is the important one. Remember how I said, you're going to want to figure out what kind of job you want? That's what I'm asking. What are your current career goals? Do you want to go into victim services? Do you want to go into policing? Do you want to become a lawyer? What does that look like? Once you know that, how can you achieve this goal and what's required to actually achieve it? What hurdles did you have to overcome to make it this far? Because that's the reality. Sometimes some of us don't have many hurdles to overcome to get to this point, and others have had to go down to one class a semester, and it's taken 3 times as long to get the degree. Sometimes it's dealing with personal loss or changes in your life that's led you. That's what I mean by when I say hurdles. What skills have you gained or honed over the years? What knowledge did you learn from your classes you've taken? What knowledge have you learned from your own life experiences and previous work? This is where I've already said it to one of you, but even if it's not something directly related to criminal justice, there's still ways that the things you've done before can apply. And so I'm asking you to think outside of that box a little bit. What ways has your understanding and experience grown from your courses overall? What class, obviously outside of Capstone, was the most useful to you in terms of your future career? In other words, what class really helped you figure out what you want to do? What are your next steps after completion of the program? What do you still need to do to achieve your goals, and how far away are your goals in realistic terms? This is where, if you remember, I said before, the Capstone project that you are developing, your portfolio, is meant to be a guideline and a quick reference for you. So that way you can make sure that you are succeeding after you graduate. Because the reality is, while you're students with us, we want to do everything we can to help you succeed. But once you graduate, you're on your own. We're going to still be there, but we're not going to be actively helping you get to that goal. You're going to have to come back for it. So it's on you. And that's why, how far away are your goals realistically? So the essay should be at least 2.5 pages in length, double spaced. Should address how the knowledge you've gained from the CJ program here at EC3 has helped prepare you for your career. And I want you to offer an honest look at how prepared you are for your specified career path. If you want to go into something that EC3 has not been able to fully prepare you for, talk about it. The only people that read this essay are you who wrote it and me. I'm not sharing it with other people. This is between you and me. So the above questions are just a few specific questions to help guide your self-reflection when writing. You do not have to answer all these questions, but the more you can, the closer you're going to get to that 2.5 without any issues. This essay should act as a reminder to yourself about your own journey to this point and where you still need to go. I urge you to take this not only seriously, but honestly with yourself. And so that's the essay that I want you working on. I believe I put it on the syllabus. It's due what? I have it due this Sunday, honestly. I'm going to give you a little bit more time on that. I'm going to say it's going to be due the following week, Friday. So 27th is, I'll say May the 2nd. May the 2nd will be when it's actually due. Okay? I want you to have time to work on the self-reflective essay. And we'll get to that mid-semester portfolio update when we talk about week 4. But I do want to talk about reflective learning because this is what the Capstone self-reflection essay is trying to do. It's trying to get you in the mindset of thinking about what you've done. And I mean that in a positive way, not a negative way. Self-reflection is one of the easiest things to do if you half-butt it, if you half-ass it, for lack of a better term. But it's difficult if you actually take it seriously. Because I'm asking you to consider your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm asking you to think about who you are now and who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Well, just take out self, but reflective learning is about looking at what you've achieved so far. And it's kind of the goal. If you've had me in other classes before, especially things like English class, you've heard me talk about reflective learning before. But this is the goal of education, that it should be, is reflective, where you build upon what you've done before and continue to grow, continue to advance, go to the next stage. Nothing you learn in school should be, here, I learned it and I'll never use it again. No, things that you learn are supposed to be building blocks. They're supposed to be the foundation for the next thing you learn, and then the foundation for the next thing you learn. And it's the reason why we say in things like liberal studies and general studies and all those other things where we say there's core classes you have to take. Yeah, you may not need to know from a history class what year a certain treaty was signed in between two countries during a war. You're not going to need to know that, but you're going to need to be able to understand how dynamic different groups work and operate, and how treaties that do get signed, they're not one day we wrote it up and it's all good. No, it's developing over years and looking at issues and trying to find compromise. That's what you should be learning from that. Not the dates, but what it means, how it is applied, how that context matters. So that's what we're talking about when we say reflective learning. And so for our purposes, for the criminal justice capstone and everything, I want you to think about every class you've ever taken in college, okay? So if you've taken college classes outside of EC3, that's fine. Think about that as well. But I want you to think about all the college classes you've ever taken. And I want you to think back to your very first class. And I want you to be honest with yourself. Were you prepared? Were you fully prepared to do that level of work? Were you super confident? Were you active in every single class, or were you a little bit quiet? Things like that. I want you to think about those things. And then I want you to think about the most recent class you took outside of this. How much have you grown in that time? Did you start taking classes a year ago? Did you start taking classes 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago? What has led to this moment? How have you changed in that time? Because I would argue even at 2 years, you've changed. May not be huge, but you've definitely changed in 2 years' time. It may not be significant, but I would argue you've changed. So that's what I want you to think. And that's why I'm encouraging this self reflective essay. I want you to be brutally honest. I want you to say, yeah, I screwed around, I messed around. I originally started college 15 years ago, and I messed around, and I just went to parties, and I failed out. And about 3 years ago, the college started up for me, and I came back, and I was more mature, and I was ready to take it serious, and I struggled, but here I am today. I want you to be that kind of brutally honest. I want you to be the person that goes, yeah, I was overconfident, and then I got a C, and then I really got knocked down a peg. Hell, if you were I was a straight A student, I always have been, and I always will be, that's fine, but I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. And that's why I emphasize, this essay is only being read by me and by you. That's it. I'm not sharing it with the school. I'm not sharing it with anyone else. That's why I'm asking for the honesty, because this is something that you're going to put in your final portfolio, and this is something that as you are trying to move forward in your career and you don't have us at EC3 kicking your butt and saying, yeah, come on, get this done. You can do this. I want you to look at that and see, wow, I grew so much between then and now. I can do this. I want it to be this positive moment. Okay? So, that's the self-reflective essay. By all means, I will be glad to elaborate any further and answer any questions that you may have about that specifically. But I'm not looking for any kind of special formatting. I'm really looking for a 2.5-ish page just essay about how much you've changed in the last couple years and what you're going to be going to do, what your plan is for the future. So that's the reflective learning. That's the self-reflective essay, which I said is going to be due now next Friday, and I will have the Dropbox and everything with the correct date on it. So follow that, not the syllabus. That being said, I want to talk about this finding careers piece. So very specifically, depending on what you're looking for, there are multiple ways to go about it. And as you can probably see if you're eagle-eyed and paying attention, you'll see that I have tabs across the top of my Google Chrome bar. And so very specifically, I wish I was kidding. One of the best ways in our current time is just Google searching. You can go to things like go to Indeed.com, pick your whatever job searching site you want to do, and you can look for those jobs. And they do actually list quite a lot of information. Obviously, I went with generic jobs in Erie, PA, but if you want to go specifically, I can go criminal justice jobs in Erie, PA. So, assistant teaching professor, parole agent. Look at that. Lots of criminal justice teaching at Gannon. Law enforcement and security, U.S. Navy. Ooh. Wow. Interesting. Criminal justice is a vague enough term. But I also know that this doesn't nearly scratch the surface. And this is where I say, I've talked about it in some of the other classes, and I hope some of our adjuncts have talked about it as well. But the Department of Corrections for Erie County, so pa.gov, you can go through and get to the Department of Corrections and go to their employment and career opportunities. So in the fall semester of this academic year, so in 2024, during the fall, we actually had a couple recruiters from the Department of Corrections come in and have a couple like casual conversation sessions with students interested. And one of their big things they say is to literally just go onto their website. They also have an app. I do not have that information with me, and I feel bad that I don't. But legitimately, they have so many different types of jobs. This is where I said, if you've taken intro to corrections, you probably have known this by now, or hopefully if you didn't have me, your instructor talked about it. But corrections are mini societies, and so there are different types of jobs. So they have administrative, clerical, general, and so this is actually, as I'm recording this is current. So the stuff that's on here is what they're currently looking for in the Erie County Department of Corrections, or rather the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. So this is across the state of Pennsylvania, but these are the types of things that they're looking for: clerical assistant, stock clerk, storekeeper, supervisor, superintendent, assistant 1, 2. So if you're looking for something that's not an officer, but more like a just, a retail worker or office assistant / secretary, that's what these are. Education, if you have some kind of education background like I do, they're looking for teachers. I know that. I've known them because I've been talked to about it from some individuals saying if I would ever consider doing some teaching. So I know that this is something they're looking for. And they're looking for special education teachers. And they also look for guidance counselors. So if education is something you're interested in, like, this is an option. If you really want to do food industry, that's there. Medical, they're always looking for that. Maintenance and trades. So I know you can go positions by facility so you can see which ones need what, but they need electricians, they need plumbers, they need HVAC, they need locksmiths, they need the whole host of traditional labor jobs. So if you have that kind of background or information, you could work in corrections in those areas. So that's why I say there's a whole lot. There are also, obviously, psychology. They need licensed psychologists because they do actually do a lot of mental health services and things like that. And then, of course, I can't believe I'm saying this low, but the corrections officer, yeah, that's a career option. Then, obviously, treatment services. So they have social workers, drug and alcohol treatment, but they also have, obviously, chaplain, a.k.a. A minister, some type of religious individual. So, completely serious. The Department of Corrections, going onto the pa.gov website, you can find careers specifically within corrections, but you can find them in other fields as well. Like, I want to encourage you to think outside the box. If you just Google it, that's why I said criminal justice jobs in Erie, PA. There's only 12 jobs that came up, and a lot of them were teaching. And it's like, well, that's not much. Well, yeah. You go to the pa.gov, and holy crap, we got a whole lot more. And heck, very specifically, this one I actually know about because I'm trying to think who specifically right now, and I'm drawing a blank on their name. But somebody from Erie City Police actually reached out to us at EC3 and said, hey, we're going to be doing recruiting and training for new police officers. So if your goal is to go into policing and you are in the city of Erie, they are going to be looking here soon, actually. And so they have their whole little piece right out here where it tells you, all the basic information. This is the little flyer. It's a digital flyer here, but they had physical ones. So applications go from April 7th, which has already happened, till June 27th of this year. So there's plenty of time. They do let you know there's an $80 application fee, which you can do online. And then the testing will be in August. The agility test and the written test both have to be passed. And then if everything works out, you will go through the police academy, hopefully pass, and then boom. So very specifically, I wanted to emphasize this for this one, and then I'm going to go back to the Department of Corrections employment so I can show you. But so right here, underneath all that stuff for the Erie Police Department, please note epd.erie.pa.us. You can go to any local police department's website and look under their recruitment or their careers option. You can find the specific for that department. But if you recall, one of the things that I mentioned is knowing about the certifications and requirements of those jobs that you will need. Well, that's what this is. So very specifically, all qualifications are set by the City of Erie Civil Service Commission. So if you are planning on becoming an Erie City Police officer, these are the things that are required. You have to be between the ages of 21 and 65. So you can't be younger than 21, unfortunately, and you can't be older than 65. You have to have at least a high school diploma or GED equivalency. Guess what? If you pass this, you have an associate's degree in criminal justice that is higher than a high school diploma. So that is a good thing that helps you in this process. Act 120 certified at time of hire. That's actually, I will tell you right now, that's something that you go through as part of the police academy. It's not something you would have to get beforehand, but as you were going through that process, you would get Act 120 certified. So if somehow you went through the academy, did everything, but failed that, you would not be able to. You need to be able to pass the Northwest PA Regional Police Testing Consortium written physical agility tests, which we already talked about is because it was up there. Agree to move within a 15-mile radius of the City of Erie Municipal Building. That has to do with how quickly you can get there for other reasons. But be a citizen of the United States, have good moral character as determined by background checks, psychological testing, and other reviews. I'll definitely admit the background check for policing is a lot more intense than a lot of other jobs. And they do have to undergo psychological testing. They're really just trying to make sure people aren't trigger happy, which is a whole nother ironic piece if you know anything about the issues of police and shooting, but that's a different thing. You need to be able to possess a current and valid driver's license because you have to drive. Sorry, full stop. And you have to be free from convictions of disqualifying criminal offenses, aka you've never been charged with a violent type crime. There's a couple other minor ones, but it's important. The violent crime is a big one that will stop people. But so very simply, the website lists exactly what you have to have. And coming back here, if you click on any of these actual positions on the on the website for the Department of Corrections, notice they'll have the job description when you click on it, and then they'll have minimum experience in training. 6 months as a clerk 1. So unfortunately, that's not something. And educational development to the level of the 8th grade. So yeah, you got that. Or completion of a high school business curriculum, or any equivalent experience in or training with which provided the required knowledge and abilities. So, yeah, if you actually focused on business in high school, there's a chance for that. Let's click on locksmith, just because it's interesting. 2 years of experience in the locksmith trade, or an equivalent combination of experience and training. Wow. That's pretty easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not bad. Because I can't help it. Let's look at adult basic education. Bachelor's degree in elementary or secondary education, which includes successful completion of a teaching practicum approved by the degree granting institution, or a bachelor's degree in social sciences, behavior sciences, education, special education, math, English, or the general sciences, and 2 years of professional classroom or formalized training, instruction, or teaching experience. I do have that, by the way. But it's not for me looking for jobs, it's you. But the point is, you can click on these. You can go, food service supervisor. 1 year of experience as a corrections food service instructor, or 3 years of experience in food prep, production, and service of a variety of complete meal menus in an institutional food service operation, food catering service, restaurant, or in a similar large-scale food production operation, which includes 1 year of lead work experience. So if you've worked in a restaurant for 5 years, guess what? You can get this job. This is what I mean. When we say looking up the required pieces, I always will encourage you. Go to the website. Go to the career page for that particular agency, that particular group. Because they're going to tell you exactly what they want and exactly what is needed. Now, if you can't find that information, obviously look for a contact information, an email, a phone number, something, and reach out to them. Ask them what their minimum requirements are. And this is where I'll say, so I'll be honest, I put in Indeed because I had something for corrections, I had something for policing. I wanted to do something for the legal side, so I went paralegal. And so If for some reason, so right here, I know they actually have it, but litigation legal assistant. They're looking for a legal assistant at McDonald, Illig, Jones, and Britton. They're a law office here in Erie, PA. They mainly deal with business law, so it's a lot of civil litigation and things like that. But they've had a couple communications with us. They're very willing to work with our students. But very specifically, right here, you come under here, job details, benefits, all this stuff, the description, qualifications, strong communication and phone skills, customer service experience preferred, strong organizational skills and ability to prioritize tasks with demanding deadlines in a fast-paced environment. Yeah, it's a law office. It's going to be busy. Microsoft Office experience is must, excellent typing skills, and good follow-up and follow-through. Very specifically, they offer training. That's the important piece, and that's why I wanted to emphasize this one. So very specifically, they don't mention, their minimum qualifications don't mention any type of educational barriers. But what they're looking for is a certain set of skills. And they're also willing to tell you that we offer training. So if you need training in understanding the legal aspect, that's something that they might be able to do. And I would argue having a criminal justice degree does give you that leg up where you have at least a base level of understanding about that. And so that's the reality. If somehow there wasn't any of these things, I would tell you immediately contact McDonald, Illig, Jones, and Britton. Reach out to them and say, hi, I saw this job posting for the litigation legal assistant on Indeed.com, and there wasn't any minimum requirements for your for considering of the job. Could you please tell me what you're looking for? Anything on that nature. And that is, number one, showing initiative. And I will tell you that a lot of places look for people that have that initiative. If they don't tell you what their qualifications are, don't be afraid to reach out to them. The worst they can do is ignore you. The best they can do is be like, holy crap, this person saw that it wasn't there and is willing to ask. Let's bring them in. It doesn't hurt to ask. I know it seems like a waste, but I promise you, it's a numbers game. It's like terrible dating advice. It's a numbers game. You got to just keep going out and doing that. This is where I'll tell you honestly. When I immediately graduated with my master's in criminal justice, I went out on like 15 total interviews for different jobs within the field, but I applied to well over 50. 15 out of 50 is pretty dang good, but it's still not great. Like, realistically, you have to just keep trying and putting out as many feelers as possible for those jobs. And I'll even be honest with you now. When I got the job here at EC3, I had applied to I wanted to teach at one of like 4 schools. So I applied to those 4, but I also applied to some backups. So I applied to just about every school, every high school in the Erie County area with the exception of 1. And I applied to Erie County Community College because I knew I wouldn't get in at Gannon or Mercyhurst as a full-time. I'd only get part-time. So I applied to every high school except for Erie High, and I applied to Erie County Community College. And I got 3 total interviews. One was Erie County Community College, one was Mercyhurst Prep, and the other one technically was Fort LaBeouf High School. So believe me when I say it is a numbers game. You just have to try. It doesn't matter what the career field is. You put out as many applications as you can, and if they're not telling you what they want, you reach out to them. That's something that they're going to immediately be contacting you because that shows that you aren't just scrolling through Indeed and just hitting apply. You're actually interested. You're actually showing that initiative. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. I know it kind of trailed off at the end, but that's because I wanted to talk about the finding of job requirements. It's hard to do this without a specific job in mind. So I try to keep it as broad as possible. If your career is not directly within criminal justice, but you're looking at something like victim services, I encourage you to look at the Crime Victim Center's website. I encourage you to look at SafeNet's employment information, that kind of stuff, because those are the ways that you get started in that field. If you're looking to do something that is marginally connected to criminal justice, and by that I mean you want to go into private security, look up private security jobs. Like, it's not impossible to do that. Heck, I'll even do that for this one real quickly. Oops. Private security. And look at that. Armed security. We have for Erie Events. Allied Universal. Oh, look at that. Indeed. Yeah, it's going to pull me in. Even though I'm in another tab for it. Transportation Security Officer for Mill Creek. Erie County, PA. Loss Prevention Associate for Walmart. Security Officer for UPMC. Yeah, that's private security. These are options. Like I said, you have to decide what you want to do. I can't tell you what to do. This is you. So thank you very much. Good luck. And if you have questions, reach out. If you're not quite sure what you want to do, but you have some ideas, email me. We can talk. We can figure out what kind of path you want to do. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.